You say jive ho, and then you jive. Welcome, huge movie fanatic Nate, stopping on by. This time I'm very delighted to come your way to do a Blu-ray review of a newly released Blu-ray that just by chance came out 40 years after the film came out in theaters. This isn't a review of the movie. If you want to know what I think about the movie, please feel free to check out my movie review I did years ago. This will be just a Blu-ray review of the glorious Kino Lorber recent Blu-ray release of Summer Rental. As we can see on the back here, brand new HD master from a 4K scan of the 35mm original camera negative exclamation point. Before I got the Blu-ray in the mail, I did actually check out the review and the screenshots on Blu-ray.com of this release, and I was pretty it's not the biggest deal in the world, but I was a little disappointed to see as one of the screenshots of the recently released Blu-ray that the CG, the very first CGI Paramount logo was a part of the screenshots, and I was like, oh no, what the hell happened? And I could only, it was only natural that I could only deduce from that screenshot that for some reason, and it's kind of a bummer, I can only assume maybe Paramount is the reason. If Paramount did the scan, maybe that's the reason the CG, the first CGI logo, the Paramount logo, is actually before the film. It was kind of a bummer. I'm one of these people who's like original mono kind of a guy, and I'm also original logo kind of a guy. And while this is not as a big a deal as, original mono is more important to me than the original logo, because original logo only lasts a few seconds, whereas sound, original mono lasts an entire movie or whatever. Summer Rental, as far as I know, has only existed on home video and I guess theatrically as well in mono. It's never been one of these titles on DVD or anything that got like a 5.1 remix, so I didn't have to worry about original mono on this title. But we get original mono, which is good, but unfortunately we don't get original Paramount logo, which it's one of these things that's really kind of strange. Like it's really not a big deal if you think about it, because it's just a couple seconds, but at the same time it like starts the movie. I'm of the opinion, being just a huge movie fanatic and a huge movie buff, and having grown up in the late 70s and all of the 80s and stuff, watching these older movies and stuff, and I guess one could say, God damn, you're a psycho, you're overly critical and you're too picky. But this kind of stuff with like the original logos, it matters to me. It's a part of the time capsule of the movie itself. And when they change things around, like they change the sound or they change the the original studio logo, it's just like, why are we changing things like at all? Why can't we just have it be how it was? Like, if we're going to change things, then offer us a way to watch it in the way it originally was. Like, I'm not opposed to changing things if we can have an option to watch it as it originally was. And like I say, I'm not going to go on too much more about the original Paramount logo swap, which I'm pretty sure the first time this movie came out in the theater in 1985, and I did a little research, and I'm pretty sure the first time the CGI Paramount logo appeared was in December of 1986, when The Golden Child was released. If the internet is to be believed, the internet says The Golden Child in December of 1986 was the first Paramount movie to feature the new, at the time, CGI, the very first CGI Paramount Pictures, studio logo. And then I'm pretty sure in 1987 it was the 75th anniversary of Paramount, and that was included in I think the whole year of 1987 in the brand new at the time CGI Paramount Studios, or Paramount studio logo. So it's a little bit of a bummer that this movie came out basically more or less 2 years before that CG logo, and on this new Blu-ray release it features the CG logo, which I guess you could even say, if I'm correct about the 1987 being the 75th anniversary of Paramount, it's fair to say that that logo all throughout that year had the 75th anniversary aspect of it, whereas there's no 75th anniversary aspect of this logo. So one could even say that logo is probably from 1988 or and beyond. I think they changed the logo, and I think quite possibly again in 2002. So the original CG logo lasted from, I guess, December of 1986 until sometime in 2002. If you're still watching after all my ranting about the replacing of the original Paramount logo, thank you very much for doing so. The good news, that's pretty much the only bad news, the good news about this Blu-ray release is it looks absolutely, positively stunning. And seeing this Blu-ray release, this new Blu-ray release of Summer Rental, is probably the closest I'll ever get to seeing this movie in the theater. And it was completely like, I'd seen this movie formerly, of course, in the 80s on VHS, and then when it was on DVD, and those were the only ways I've been able to experience this movie for all these 40 years. And now 40 years after the release of the film in theaters, I'm able to experience this as close as possible as I can currently do to the theatrical experience. And I got to tell you, all of just the minutia of extra little details and all this and that you can see that I previously couldn't see on the VHS or DVD releases, it's like, wow. It's kind of like going back 40 years and having like a little theater in your living room or in your bedroom or wherever you happen to be watching this, and like, yeah, teleport back 40 years, and this is probably very close to what seeing it in the theater was like. That, me, if you've seen a lot of my reviews, or even if you've seen a little bit of my reviews, I'm a grain guy. One thing I do want to say about the film grain in this Blu-ray release is, even me being like a film grain aficionado, I was asking myself throughout the movie, and it was probably more in maybe darker lit scenes, maybe not so much in the daytime bright daytime exterior stuff or the bright scenes, but maybe more in the low light scenes. I was asking myself, God, is that too much grain? There's a lot of grain in maybe more of the darker scenes in this movie, and especially for people that don't like grain at all, this Blu-ray release might be a little bit of an issue for you, because I'm a grain guy. I like film grain, and there might even be a little too much grain in certain scenes for me in this release. So even though, I kind of say I regard this as mostly a positive, it's kind of like, yeah, I can even replay it back in my head, the very beginning when when John Candy's boss and him are walking out, and he's like, after the fly incident at the air traffic control job he works at, like even during that scene, which is kind of a brightly lit scene, that was full of all kinds of grain. And I'm like, wow, I was watching the movie and I'm like, God, maybe is this too much grain? And like I say, if you don't like grain, oh my God, you're probably not gonna like this Blu-ray release. But one thing that one of the trade-offs you get is, like I say, oh my God, the fidelity of the image is just so impeccable compared to the obviously VHS or even the DVD versions that we've all experienced up until now. I'm pretty sure there was like an HD version on Prime for years. I started watching it, but I never watched the whole thing on there. I can only assume this is actually maybe a different scan than that anyway. But yeah, that's pretty much what I can say about the image. Like, the fidelity and just the definition is absolutely stunning. But God, if you don't like grain, this might not be the release for you. Obviously, this movie has existed, I think, exclusively for its now 40 years of existence, only in mono, I'm pretty sure. There weren't any audio anomalies or anything that was screwed up with the audio that I could detect, other than the strange voice of a little girl going, "Mommy, can I play in the basement with your goo?" But I think that's how it's been ever since it was probably released. But if you know the movie, you know what the hell I'm talking about. But yeah, there's other than that, there's no audio anomalies to report. But all I can say is, it was just a delight to be able to watch this movie 40 years after its release. It would have been nice to be able to do this sooner, but just coincidentally 40 years after its release, being able to experience this movie pretty damn close to how people probably experienced it 40 years ago in the theater. To be able to own that version is a treat. Probably give this movie quite a few watches this year, especially in the spring and summer and all that kind of stuff. So very, very, very highly recommended Blu-ray in the regards of but like I say, oh my God, if you don't like grain, this could be an issue for you. But yeah. Special features: little sparse audio commentary by film historian Joe is it Ramoni? Does anyone actually listen to film historian audio commentaries? I know I sure as hell don't. Ear Candy, the music of Summer Rental featurette. Before I watched that featurette, I didn't know what the hell to expect. I hoped it was like an interview with Alan Silvestri. Alas, it is not. I think several years ago, it's basically a little video about these two guys that you know, both worked together to put out basically, I guess, a limited CD and vinyl record release of the Alan Silvestri music, basically the score from Summer Rental. So it's about their endeavor, very short little featurette about their endeavor putting out the limited edition vinyl and CD of the Summer Rental music. So I mean, you know, it was definitely kind of interesting to see their little, I guess, their history with the movie and their little experience getting that project done. But I mean, I guess it's kind of a weird extra in a way, because it really, I mean, I guess it does have to do with the movie because it's about the movie soundtrack, but at the same time, it's like by the time you see this extra, you know, the record and CD is presumably sold out or whatever. So it's kind of weird in a way. Like it would have made more sense if the CD and the LP was coming out in the coming months or something. But if it's already sold out, it's kind of like, what's the point? But I mean, I guess an extra is an extra. Read all about it. Then we've got theatrical trailer. If you're familiar with Kino Lorber releases, you'll know that it's a handful of trailers that kind of align with the genre of Summer Rental in this case. I think there's an Uncle Buck trailer and maybe some other comedy trailers. And the irony is, I'm pretty sure all the trailers are high definition except for the Summer Rental trailer. For some reason, the trailer for Summer Rental on the Blu-ray of Summer Rental looks absolutely horrible, and it probably looks even worse than the trailer that's on the DVD. Like it's definitely standard definition, but it's almost like someone made it ultra standard definition or something, or almost like it was downloaded off of YouTube. That's how bad the quality of the trailer of Summer Rental is on the Kino Lorber Blu-ray release of Summer Rental. It's just like, it's pretty sloppy. I'm sure a version of the trailer exists in higher quality, probably even the DVD. So that was a little, although that's not a huge disappointment, it's a mini disappointment. It's like, I'm not going to watch the trailer that often, but God, it's just kind of sloppy. Like, if you can't, you know, you got these high definition trailers for everything else, and the actual movie that's on the Blu-ray, the trailer that represents it, looks like, you know, like a 280p or 320p YouTube video trailer, and it's a little sloppy, Kino, I'll say that. As you can see, I was fortunate enough to get a Blu-ray with a slipcover. There's no saying how long they'll be shipping with slipcovers, but I luckily was able to get a Blu-ray with the slipcover, and in true Kino, or recent Kino Lorber fashion, they do exactly what I do, is they basically go all the way back to the source of the original theatrical poster and utilize that for their Blu-ray cover art. Absolutely fantastic, very much appreciated. Thank you for that, Kino. And taking a look at the slipcover spine here, one thing that Kino Lorber has been doing in recent years is they've actually been putting the movie logo on the spine versus their standard boring Kino Lorber font, which is normally found on the actual Blu-ray spines. So they'll give us the boring Kino Lorber Blu-ray spine on the Blu-ray spine, but they're nice enough to, on the slipcover, give us the actual movie logo on the spine. In this case, I definitely would have preferred if the spine was white and the Summer Rental logo was on white, because I'm not used to, and I don't think it's ever been on black before, so this looks really weird. I don't know if Kino Lorber normally does black spines, possibly, but in this case I wish they could have made an exception and done a white spine, because the Summer Rental logo looks kind of goofy on black. I don't think we've ever seen it on black. I think we're used to seeing it on white. Admittedly a small nitpick, but this looks kind of goofy to me. Underneath the slipcover you've got this image, Deja Vu, man. It's heavy. And this is what I was talking about. We're looking at the actual Blu-ray case itself and the spine. This is the standard Kino Lorber spine font, which is basically the same font that's more or less in all of their more recent Blu-ray releases across, and it doesn't matter what the hell it is, this is the font, which a little bit of a bummer that they can't do the movie font, but like I say, they've been doing movie font on the spine of their slipcovers, so that's appreciated. But just to let you know, in case you didn't know, this is the standard Kino Lorber, I guess, Blu-ray case spine font. And in true Kino Lorber fashion, this is what the disc itself looks like. Obviously, I'd be more open to, you know, something, picture of the poster art or something on the disc, but this is how Kino Lorber does it. But if it wasn't for Kino Lorber, Summer Rental would not be on Blu-ray right now, so I'm not going to complain too much, even though I've been complaining quite a bit, I guess. So thank you very much, Kino Lorber. 40 years after the film's release, it is now in a glorious Blu-ray release, so very much appreciated. Thank you very much, Kino Lorber. Guess that pretty much does it for this movie review, but you know, I just want to whet your appetite for a future video coming up. I thought since it's the 40th anniversary and to celebrate the of the film and to celebrate the recent Blu-ray release, I can stop on by one of these days soon to showcase the original North American VHS release of Summer Rental. So be on the lookout for that video. Guess that pretty much does it for this one. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. And as always, we'll catch you on the next video.